Hey, welcome to Three Dorks on Demand. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
Welcome back, Carter.
Hello.
No one knows that show but
I sang it in
us
my
old
head
people.
when you said it. Welcome back.
It had a great theme,
I
no
just aged
question.
myself. I did. I aged myself.
Classic theme song that was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Old TV shows have the best theme songs. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, Cheers I thought was really another a great one.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what this episode's about, people.
Three's Company.
Come and knock on my door.
We're definitely not discussing those, but that is a great idea. We should totally.
Salutations, Searings. How are you
Hey,
doing, my
Tyler.
friend?
What's up, Tyler?
Tyler,
I think we need to
hey
put that in the episode bank. We need to do old TV show theme song.
Yeah, but our producer doesn't like those shows
He doesn't
because
like it when we do
it
old
dates
people
us.
stuff.
He doesn't have any relation to any of the
Listen,
subject matters.
I love old people stuff. Like I'm gonna be in bed in about an hour.
Hey, Sean, how you doing, buddy? Well, but we are here to talk about funny, scary movies.
Spooky movies that make you giggle.
Okay, so in my head, there's deliberate,
Mhm.
there's surprise, like, wow, that ended up being funny. There's ones that translate well from, say, the written word, and they keep that. And I'll maybe suggest like Stephen King's humor comes through in his movies, especially the banter among the young ones, like on in Stand by Me and those kind of things that, or like the the younger part of the it crowd. Um, but yeah, there's definitely ones that were meant to be funny.
Right.
Um, and then there's the ones that were surprisingly funny, which are the ones that I like. Now, are they funny just because of the they're so ridiculous they're funny, or are they funny just because they had some zingers?
Right.
We'll let you decide.
So it's funny that you mentioned that because, like, in prepping for this, I was thinking kind of the same way. Where like I put these into two categories. There's like
Categories for sure.
intentionally bad and then unintentionally bad, and both can be funny. I think the distinction I can kind of make in my mind with like intentionally bad ones is that they're sort of like comedies in disguise because the director knows that like they're trying to make something that is funny by being so bad. So it's like I guess
They'll push that that envelope a little bit
Yeah, they
because
kind
they'll
of like,
expose it a little bit.
they toe
Pick
across
at
the
that scab.
line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's a good distinction. And then credit those directors that do see that as an opportunity to. And I think, like, let's talk about Jordan Peele, right?
Mm.
Um, he's been putting his feet in scary movies here for a little bit, right? Bloomhouse, I think he owns a little bit of, or something along those lines. I just see his name a lot. Um, and the other guy too. There was two of them, right? There's people and Peels, or I don't know who they are, but they kind of transcend that directorial thing where they're looking at it from through a scope of humor. They're going to get a little bit of humor in what they do, whether it's so creepy that it's you got to laugh because
They're not hitting the
otherwise you're
line.
going to cry.
Right.
Yeah.
It was hard. I'm not going to lie, it was really hard for me to go down this rabbit hole because I am very much a scary movie purist. Like, if I have I want a scary movie. I think if there's
Sure.
comedy involved, like if you take something like, going down the rabbit hole, so many people were like, oh, Beetlejuice. And I'm like, that's not a scary movie. It's a comedy. So I think that it's really hard to say like, it's a scary movie if there's comedy involved for me.
Yeah,
Most
Beetlejuice didn't make my list at
it
all
it
because it's
wouldn't have
not a
made my
horror
list.
movie or a
It's
scary
not.
movie.
Yeah.
Um, I will say something that will probably make Bronner a little proud. I will say that probably going down this rabbit hole, the number one option that popped up for me that I was able to say I
Say it.
actually
Just say it, baby.
enjoy.
It'll be number one on my list. I guarantee you.
Um, I can say that it was classified as a horror, not a comedy, and I actually enjoyed the combination, despite being a little bit of a scary movie snob. Was the Evil Dead series.
Mm.
Number one on my list.
I knew
100%.
it would be. I knew it would be. I think honestly, in all the things that I looked at and everything that I went down, in my opinion, it was really the only one that did it well.
I disagree.
I feel like it's got that a good blend of comedy, and there are others that they're not horrible, but it's the only one that like hit the nail directly on the head.
I think they hit that. I think camp is certainly important in the history of horror. From way back
I
in
don't
the
think so.
day, from old campy horror movies, um, like even back as far as like Bela Lugosi, and I mean just stuff that is all like the David Niven type horror movies, and the Christopher Lee movies that were horror. Um,
Horror comes, Sean.
I just think that camp and comedy kind of go hand in hand. And if you can appreciate campiness and actually laugh out loud at something that's being campy, then that's where Evil Dead succeeded because
I think
you actually laughed out loud. Sam Raimi was good at camp, you
camp
know.
and comedy go well together, but camp and horror do not.
I disagree.
If I'm watching a scary movie, like I want like to pull the blankets up. I want to be trembling. I want, my ideal goal, other than my traumatic one movie, which a lot of people will
The
say
original one,
is scared, is
spectacular.
funny. Um, I want that movie that's gonna scare the shit out of me. I want to lay in bed and not be able to go to sleep for like 3 hours. I want that. That's what I want out of a horror movie. I don't want campy.
Okay, but okay, so Syrinx brought up a great movie, American Werewolf in London, the
Yes.
original one.
Mm.
Fantastic. Now the reason why it was
Oh, did we lose him? Hello? I, I can't hear anyone. Oh, okay.
I think we fixed it.
Oh,
are we there?
I hear you.
We
Okay,
got a
cool.
Bronner back. Okay.
All right. So, um, but I forget what the guy's name was. David Naughton, I think it was the guy that played the original American Werewolf in London. But his portrayal and his take on becoming a werewolf was funny. Like he had all complete nervous energy about him. He was he was just great. And so he transcended the role of comedy in a horror movie. And I think they did it right. And I think you saw later a lot of people try to match that, even with like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, with the one-liners from Freddy and him trying to be funny. And he did get a couple of yucks in here and there, believe me, Freddy did. Um, but I think you can be funny if it's that nervous, scary kind of funny. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but
Yeah.
for me, just once it starts to cross that line into, you know what, oh, that's ridiculous, or um, if it's no longer in my mind a horror film.
Okay, so part of the problem,
It's taking its own genre.
yes, and part of the problem is that when you Google just scary, funny scary movies, you're going to get movies like Beetlejuice,
Right.
movies like Mars Attacks, which aren't traditionally horror movies. They're basically spoofs on horror movies, kind of,
Yeah.
if you think about it.
You know what? That's a really good way to put it, because Tyler says the scary movie franchise is funny, and
Scream too had
Yeah.
had humor elements to it.
because
And
scary
again,
movie
that comes
is
with the funny people, because David Arquette was in it, funny guy. Um, what's his name? He was also in 13 Ghosts. Um,
Matthew Lillard.
Lillard,
I love
funny
Matthew
guy.
Lillard.
You know,
Oh, I would have his babies. Just throwing that out there.
but very funny individuals that make the movies funny when they weren't designed to be funny until they added that element. I think they brought it.
That's funny that we bring up Scream, because that was really where kind of like my head was leaning to, because
I think Scream's a perfect example of a scary, funny movie.
I don't find it funny for the same reason that you're talking about. I think most of the time when I'm watching a scary movie, if I find it funny, it's pretty much the exact same scenario. I think it's that traditional, running away from the bad guy, or the bad guy gets into your house and
Or the bad guy
the bad guy wins.
stabs you in the breast.
How does the bad guy win? Every time, like, I'm watching these movies and I'm like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. And
No
I'm
one's
like,
that
let somebody
stupid.
break into this house. We're gonna see how it really goes down. And I feel bad for the bad guy. So it's scary movies that have that type of a plot line that just kind of make me chuckle. They make me giggle, because I don't find that to be realistic at all. Even the Halloween, you got Michael. I'm like, how did that man last 20 years? He'd have been done season 1.
Well, I mean, he's been killed many, many times, but he gets up every time.
Kill it with fire.
Burn it.
It's just like bugs. Okay, kill it with fire.
I just think it's a pleasant surprise when a movie turns out to be funny. I thought the Scream franchise was great. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of what makes it like a horror movie that's so bad it's funny, is the absurdity of it. Like the fact that it's just kind of like nonsensical, outlandish, maybe a little confusing. Seeing those elements just, it makes it like Ray was saying, where like it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel realistic. You can't take it seriously. There's just something that happens where you're just like, you break, like your understanding of reality snaps, and you can either laugh at it or be frustrated with it.
Right.
I prefer to laugh at it.
That's what I do. I'll laugh at it.
But yeah.
But I think they've all tried to capture that rare lightning in a bottle that, like, Evil Dead 2 captured, and very, very little success. There was a movie that came across. Actually, my son brought it up to me, and he found American Psycho very, very funny.
I did too.
So did I, but I forgot that it was funny.
Yeah, I mean,
I can picture Ethan finding it.
How else do you describe a film where a dude lures another guy back into a blank white, like, hotel room looking thing, where there's like plastic lined everywhere, and just like a single chair for him with like a splatter mat, and gets the guy to sit down, starts playing, was it Huey Lewis in the News, and doing a musical critique of it in bed before murdering the man? Like, that's hilarious.
Hilarious.
And it's so funny that those are the types of scenarios that, where it crosses that line into ridiculous, and we've moved out of the realm of reality, that I find funny, because realistically speaking here, who the hell is that going to happen to? Nobody. So
I
it's
think it can
funny.
happen,
But
though. I think that I think you give humans too much credit
I
sometimes.
probably do. Like, let's look at society. I give them way too much credit. Um, but, however, when watching a horror movie, is the idea not to put yourself in to,
Peril,
that's kind of the way that you get pulled into
like
it
that could
is,
happen to me.
yeah, exactly. And that's kind of adds the extra horror element. So when I watch a movie that I go, there's no effing way possible that I'm going to be running across the lawn in a bra and trip. Um, I just can't find that scary. I just have to giggle at it. So those types of movies are just, it's not realistic. I prefer, like, from start to finish, like, I want it to be good. It needs to hit the mark.
I feel you. I mean, like if I'm in the mood to watch something that's actually legitimately scary, I'm never gonna pop in one.
Never seen that.
But if I'm like, I want to watch an absurd train wreck, absolutely, let's go. And sometimes it's just so much fun to watch the train wreck,
Right.
whether it's by design or not.
I applaud them for attempting it because like Robert Zemeckis tried to cross the line of um, comedy and horror in his offering of The Frighteners. I don't know. It's not a highly watched movie, but to me, it's one of my all-time favorite movies because it incorporates a lot of like the Ghostbustery type feel to it, but also was involved like a serial killer, which is my like what I gravitate towards is the serial killer kind of um, people, like American Psycho kind of thing. Um, I love like true crimey type stuff, but I really do um, like interjecting ghosts and stuff with a comedic flavor to it. Just brushstrokes of comedy.
Yeah, that's fair. Have either of you, just out of curiosity, have you seen a movie called The
So great.
Velocipaster?
Which one?
Oh, The Velocipaster?
No.
No. Have you heard of it?
No.
You've mentioned
You
it
mentioned
before.
it.
Oh boy, that's a movie. When we talk about like movies that are so bad they're good, but this one's intentionally, like you can tell they went over the top. Like from the very first scene, there's like you see like the main character's tragic backstory where like his parents get blown up, and instead of showing the explosion, there's just like a caption that says like insert CGI here. And so you can just tell, like, okay, they know what they're doing. They want this movie to be just awful. It's
Right.
very, very funny. Um, it's about a pastor who transforms into a velociraptor. Exactly.
I think it's great.
It's
I think
awesome.
it's great. I think that's great.
I get human centipede vibes. Human
No.
centipede vibes.
I mean, it could be set up to be crap, but that to me, especially if you're with a group of friends, could be a great
Especially if you're
time.
not entirely sober.
Yeah,
If you're-
that too. Like
Sure.
if you're in a medical induced state of mind, 100%. But there's movies like that come to mind, like Shaun of the Dead. They did
but
it right.
it's not a horror movie.
But
to
that
me.
has horror elements. It has
It's-
blood and gore
it's
and scary
100%
parts.
comedy at that point.
Yeah.
Like I
And
can't
it is.
in my brain connect that to say that is a horror movie.
Tucker and Dale.
I'm with you
Yeah.
there. I mean, it has to do with the narrative structure, right? It has the narrative structure of a comedy. It's wearing a horror movie's face, but it's dealing with like it's
Right.
setting.
But so that doesn't make it funny, scary.
No,
It just makes it funny,
it is hilarious.
but not scary.
No,
So you're not afraid of any of the zombies that were in
hell no.
Shaun of the Dead?
I'm not afraid of any zombies. Did we not talk about our plans?
Vampire in
last
Brooklyn
week?
was brilliant. Oh, you're missing out.
Wait, I have to be scared of it in order to appreciate?
No, you don't have to, but in order to validate it as a scary movie, I would think that you would need to
I
be
don't validate it
scary.
as a scary movie.
I know, but I'm trying to.
Right.
So if you were scared at all, then it can be considered a scary movie. Like even before you
So-
determined it was a comedy.
Riddle me this then. If I've never been scared by a movie, well, one movie, other than the one movie, if I've never been scared by a movie at all, then does that mean that no
You've
movie
never seen a horror
classifies as
movie?
a horror movie to me?
I would think so. I would think that you're a unicorn and you need to be put out to pasture.
You're gonna old yeller me just because I'm not scared of
Kapow.
movies?
I mean,
God.
it could be a movie in and of itself.
I mean, if that's the case, only one movie in the history of movies is a horror movie to me. So
And there was nothing laughable about that movie.
a lot of people would disagree with that. A lot of people find
They find the SNL skits funny.
No.
The parodies of it.
there are quite a few people that find The Exorcist
Ah,
funny.
that's weird.
Maybe
And
they go-
I get
Maybe
very
they say,
weird
"Oh,
looks.
they look like pea soup," but they were freaked out when they were
No,
watching
I get
it.
a lot of weird looks. They're like, how are you traumatized by that movie? It was kind of funny. And I'm like, no, it was not funny in the slightest.
Not when you're 7 years old.
7 years old and forced to watch it.
Ooh. You were forced to?
I was forced.
Yeah,
I was
by
forced.
your dad.
I attempted to opt out because I did not want to watch it. At 7, who wants to watch a scary movie, right? And the whole lead up to it was, you have to watch this. It was a true story. It's a true story. And it was just not a pleasant experience. Yeah.
The trauma that
I did
she
not-
needs to unpack.
It was
I'm
a
pretty-
true
I
story?
did not sleep for 3 days after this. I know. I have a very distinct memory because I know the bed that I had at that time of laying in the bed staring at the ceiling. And then I would get like really freaked out and I'd be like, oh my God, what's over there? So I would like look this way. And like, oh my God, what if something's coming this way? And then I did not sleep the whole first night.
Oh my god.
Got to be traumatic.
But there are a lot of people that find that movie funny.
I was traumatized by Damien the Omen. Anything that has, the
Little
you
kids.
shave a little kid's head and it's got 666 on there, and he has, mind powers and can kill you.
Mhm.
Yeah, by
Right.
throwing you off a stairway or a stairwell.
I
mean,
loved The Omen. I thought that was a great movie.
so scary. It freaked me out.
So I want to dissect this a little
Children of
bit.
the Corn.
Oh,
Hell yes.
Nick wants to
Yeah,
be
he
a
does.
therapist. All
I
right,
want
Nick.
to dissect this
hit me with
trauma
it.
a little bit. So
Unpacking? Are we?
which parent is primarily responsible for doing this to you?
Oh, it was my dad.
Dad.
Was your dad? Okay.
It was my
And
dad.
are you still on speaking terms?
Kind of. I mean, like I talk to him, he doesn't talk back. 'cause
Doesn't
he's dead.
respond. Yeah.
He's dead.
Yeah, he can't respond. But yeah, I've heard her cuss him out before.
You might be better off not.
Oh.
I don't know him. I don't know him.
Damn. But this is also like, okay, we could do like a whole segment, like we could have a whole separate show about my childhood trauma. Wink, wink, Sean. This is also the parent that had no problems with, I think I was 10 at the time, watching Pulp Fiction.
Mm. I feel you.
Yeah, so.
This is the same parent that told her, like, if she broke her hair bow during a fight or something.
That's not what he told me.
Okay.
I was scared. Okay. So my very first fight of my entire life, I was like, I don't know, 6, something. This little kid was picking on my younger brother, and I didn't like that. So his older sister, I was like, yep, this ain't gonna happen. And then, somehow or another, I ended up in a fight with this kid. And I had one of those really hard plastic headbands from back in the day that used to like dig into the side of your head. It was ugly. It was horrible.
They were torture devices.
Right, pretty much.
And in fact, they turned into glasses for Geordie LaForge.
Right, the visor.
Yeah.
You could cosplay with those. And so I didn't live in the best neighborhoods, so don't ask me why, but the entire complex was like watching this fight of two little girls. But my dad, who taught me how to fight, by the way, is on the sidelines, and I had my headband in my hand because in my mind, in my brain, in second grade, if this headband got broke, like I would get my ass
Knock it off.
I would be in deep shit if this headband broke. I don't know why that's where my head went. So I essentially beat the shit out of this little girl with one hand. All the while, apparently my father is on the sidelines telling me to drop the headband so that I could beat the shit out of her worse. That's my dad for you, okay? There's a lot of trauma to unpack.
She's a movie. She's a movie to be. We need to write a movie.
I feel bad for whoever has to write this movie. There's so much.
There's a lot.
Adults didn't step in; they just watched 4-year-olds.
No, that's
in certain neighborhoods.
They cracked a Budweiser and watched.
In certain neighborhoods,
knock it off.
You allow the children to fight so they learn. You have to learn how to protect yourself, defend yourself. We don't all live in the best neighborhoods growing up. If you don't learn how to fight, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to scary movies.
I mean, hey, I
That's
also
scary.
have a childhood trauma story that is horror film related. One of my earliest memories was from when I was 3 years old. I was in my little playpen, and there's a dispute in my family as to who is responsible for it.
Uh-oh.
It's my dad. My dad claims it was my little sister, but my little sister was like 6 at the time. So like she didn't turn on the TV and she didn't put this on in there like he did.
Right.
We had on Tales from the Crypt.
Nice.
And I was just stuck in there.
Amazing.
Couldn't leave.
Right.
And I'm 3, and it was just, there was horror. There were like a body got cut open and split open.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah. And I was 3, so I was mortified, as you can imagine, and I was crying. I kept going, I'm scary, because I'm a kid. I don't know how to say I'm scared. I'm saying I'm scary. And they just thought it was so damn funny.
So cute.
Right.
So funny.
The adults allowed it to just continue for a little bit longer.
Did they get the VHS recorder out and record you?
And start with the big ass.
It's one of those things where I'm pretty sure that I've seen a videotape of it, and that's why I know so much about it. Because I feel like at 3, I wouldn't have remembered it if not.
You know why I know they did that? Because it's something that my parents would have done just to win like 10 grand on America's Funniest Video. Let's go get the video recorder.
You know what? And I wonder if thanks to the traumatic childhood and the upbringing, that's why I don't find any movies scary. I'm like, that's nothing. That's nothing.
I mean, but that's cool though, because it's like a challenge. The gauntlet has been,
so
thrown down.
In the audience has a movie they think will scare the shit out of me. I want it.
So bad.
So bad.
I want it so bad.
And I will say I have seen like Exorcist 2 and 3 and like the subsequent ones, and they do not bother me. I have watched other exorcisms. The Exorcism of Emily Rose does not bother me. It's not that style of movie.
She loves that.
I absolutely love exorcism style movies.
Yeah. Or doll movies like Annabelle.
Oh, Annabelle's fantastic. Any like demonic possession, paranormal. I love watching them. They just don't scare me. Just that one movie. Traumatized.
I enjoyed stupid movies too. Now I'll tell you, like this movie called Idle Hands.
Psychological for sure.
Oh.
Anyone remember the movie
I
Idle Hands?
loved Idle Hands, but it was not a horror movie.
But it had definite horror elements to it,
It
where
did
there
not.
parts of it
It was hilarious.
it was hilarious, but parts of it were pretty freaking scary.
The heck? Really? That was scary? I don't know.
Right?
I think that
No.
was closer to an
Okay, I'm gonna let him.
unintentionally.
The original Fright Night with Chris Sarandon, and I don't remember who played the kid. I think it was Jim Carrey.
Hmm.
No, was he he was in a vampire movie, but I don't think he was in that vampire
Oh.
movie.
What was that vampire movie that Jim Carrey was in? It's like one of the first movies. God, what was it called?
I don't remember,
I
but
can't
it was
remember.
good.
Somebody tell me what that movie was, because I loved that movie with Jim Carrey.
What gets you more, physical horror, psychological suspense? None of the above. She gets nothing. Bitten.
No, I do.
Thank you.
Bitten.
Thank you,
Um,
brilliant friend of ours.
I do. I prefer the psychological over the physical. That might be why, like, I didn't.
Once
really,
Bitten.
I don't know. Yeah, because Bitten is a werewolf show.
Once Bitten. I
Twice
remember
Shy.
the song too.
Once Bitten, Twice Shy.
Phantasm. The theme song alone, Mom,
Loved Phantasm.
in that was it was very, very reminiscent of a Cars song called Living in Stereo. You know, it has that dun, 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 you know, and the fog and the phantasm scared me, especially because I'm a kid watching it on like KTLA Channel 5, and it was scary. It was ball scary to
What
me.
about good God, the name just escaped me. Carol Ann.
Oh, Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
Yeah.
It was the scariest PG-13 movie I've ever seen in my life.
You're not saying it's funny, are you?
I thought it was funny. I thought it was a little funny.
That clown and the tree killed me.
Not gonna lie, I thought it was a little funny.
I can see it. But I mean, that's also going to be a lot of like, what is that, 80s horror?
The older,
It's gonna
yeah,
have, yeah, a lot of that's going to have campy elements that, like,
absolutely.
I don't know if it's just that they don't hold up by today's standards. They seem so.
They're typical 80s.
And I think that's a generational thing, because for somebody that watched them real time coming out, and you watch those in comparison to other things that are out, they very much were coming of age. They very much were, you know, like you watch Poltergeist, and at that time, that was scary as shit. But now you watch some of the things that, like, say, Nick and I are exposed to, and then we go back and watch Poltergeist, we're like, just don't, the connection's not there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The CGI and all of
just the streaming shows and the violence and the gore that they get away with on all of the streaming platforms nowadays because of the mature audience tagline on it. There's nothing that is shocking anymore.
Yeah. Mom says the movie that traumatized her was Silence of the Lambs.
That was pretty terrifically traumatizing.
Can I tell you a weird one? I kind of find that one funny.
Really?
It is. It has some fun. Buffalo Bill is funny. He had great one-liners like, "Was she some great big fat chick?" You know, like when he answers the door for the FBI.
There's the famous dancing scene where he's dancing for the camera, right? Like,
right, where he tucks.
But it's also so absurd that it's kind of funny.
I've danced. I've done that dance, recreated that dance before.
You've done.
I don't know if I should admit to also having done that, but
I'm almost positive
I'm
that every guy has done it.
I tucked. Oh, different tuck. I'm kidding.
What?
I'm kidding.
Mom said too much information.
If you did, I guess that's fine, right?
Right?
Not fine for me.
No. I think Broner would have a whole different problem.
I mean, I would have to launch an investigatory type of situation.
Investigation.
Mhm.
But I think it's hard to throw a blanket on it because, like I said, you have the issue with the '80s movies. Let's say the Blob or the Mist or stuff like
Those
that.
are more 70s.
70s, '80s. I'm talking like the older stuff that
Some
you
of the
know.
70s
If
are
we're
kids'
touching
movies.
it now, yeah, it looks campy. It looks funny, and you can watch it and you can laugh at some of the more ridiculous elements. But at that time, they were very breakthrough. They were very you know important in
Right.
that day,
I
and
mean,
there are a
the
lot of
trailers
people.
alone
Right.
are vintage and wonderful.
There are a lot of people that watch those coming out real time that are very traumatized by those movies, and they say that they're the scariest movie they've ever seen. Um, just like
Creature of the Black Lagoon was a scary movie that my mom thought was the scariest movie ever made.
right. And now you go back and watch that, and you gotta kind of laugh at it.
Right.
So it's hard to judge them based on.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Any schlock movies were great. I loved
Yes.
them.
So good. Oh,
So I
so
think
good.
it's all based on the person. I think
Schlock reminded me so much of the 70s campy blob, with the like Mars Attacks, very schlocky, very Toxic Avenger.
Mm-hmm.
I loved them, and they weren't scary, but they were funny as hell. Super entertaining.
Yeah, teen slashers.
Yeah.
They all kind of run together, in my opinion, John. Like I don't differentiate one from the other. I think they are all basically the same movie.
Yeah, great movie. Is that the
Oh,
Johnny Depp movie, The Gate?
I think so. Is that the one?
I thought it was The Gate where he was. Didn't he play like?
What was the other one where he was in the cabin? That was a more psychological. He was the writer.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. Shoot. I saw that movie too.
It was a good one. Of course, trying to scroll through his filmography is going to take me like 8 years. So
Two kids play heavy metal records, and little trolls appear. Oh, that was kind of like in the Critters days and
Which movie are we talking about?
Gremlins, The Gate.
The Gate.
I
Oh.
love Gremlins. I wanted a gizmo.
Oh.
I thought the Furbies looked just like them, so I got Furbies.
I felt like Furbies were definitely like copying the design of the Gremlins to the point where they actually ended up making a Furby of Gizmo.
Mm-hmm. I never got to have it, but
Did they make one? Did you
Mhm.
say?
They
Oh
made a
wow!
Furby of Gizmo, yeah. My mom has it somewhere.
I thought they all looked like Gizmo. I mean, I can't differentiate one
yeah.
Furby from another.
Just
So
what you're looking at a purple gizmo. That's it.
They totally do. You mentioned like, somebody in the chat mentioned something about like trolls or gremlins or something. And like so there's this really, I guess, iconic, kind of has a cult following in the, I guess, genre of so bad they're good horror movies, called Troll 2. That is like so epically bad. It's been memed about for years and years and years. You may have even seen some scenes in it just played for like comedic effect. It's not just good for the clips that you see online from time to time. The whole thing, the experience of watching it, it's a train wreck and a disaster, but very funny. Um, One of the famous things that came from that is that whole like she's eating her and then they're eating her and then they're gonna eat me. Oh my god! And the guy says like "Oh my god" in the most ridiculous way. Are you all familiar with that one?
I
No.
haven't seen that one.
Oh,
I'm
But then
familiar with it.
that kind of reminds me of like there's another series of movies that falls into the so bad it's ridiculous category. And I'm gonna have to say it's Leprechauns.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
There's a slew of movies that follow suit. Like there's
Mhm.
got to be thousands of them.
Yeah.
I mean, off the top of my head, Puppet Master.
Yeah.
You know, every movie that was made in that time period can actually pretty much go into that category. Default
Yeah,
by default.
it's true. I
Yeah.
think
I mean, when they make a Leprechauns in space,
Manos,
yeah,
Manos, the Hands of Fate.
the first Leprechaun, I feel like that was unintentionally so bad it's good. Like I feel like they were trying. They thought that maybe their premise was gonna take. Like
And he was wickedly kind of scary. They were trying to get the Chucky lightning in a bottle.
yeah, like the Child's Play. I'm not sure if it came
Yeah.
before or after. I think it was after. And
I
you see
think
some of
they
the
did.
Child's Play work, so I think they were trying to tap into that.
I think Chucky worked.
I think
Chucky was
honestly they
freaking.
did a phenomenal job of pivoting though. I think the first one came out with all of the best intentions to be an actual legitimate horror movie. And they saw what happened with it and they're like, you know what? We're gonna run with it. We're just gonna make this some ridiculous shit.
And they gave us Willow by default.
They did. They
The Leprechaun movies gave us Willow
Oh yeah.
did.
because that's Warwick.
Warwick. Who in turn ended up in Harry Potter. So thank you, Leprechauns.
Full circle.
Thank you, Leprechauns.
And then back into Star Wars a whole bunch.
And they just kept making these critters 2, critters 5, critters go to Mars.
Mhm.
And then they did, like on my list I have Tremors. And the reason
How do you consider that a horror movie?
I have Tremors because it was scary.
It was
I mean, there was
not.
some suspense in there. Those worms were awesome and scary.
Yeah. That one.
We're not
Oh,
scary.
But it was meant to be scary, to scare you. The worms were meant to scare you.
I think that's another one that did a really good job. Like they put the first one out fully intending to be taken seriously. They realized
I thought it was a great movie. I
and they
didn't
put
think it
out
was
the
campy
second
at
one and
all.
Said, we're fucking going with it.
Fred Ward is brilliant. Kevin Bacon was brilliant. The guy that plays the dad on that sitcom with Michael J. Fox, Gross, brilliant in that movie. Reba McEntire, brilliant in that movie.
I love Reba. I think Reba can do no wrong.
That movie,
I love her.
that movie was phenomenal for what it was worth. I laughed and I was scared. So, Tremors. I wasn't scared of the ass blasters. Yeah, Night of the Living Dead. Serious? That's perfect.
I thought the ass blasters. were
George
cute.
Romero. No one
that's-
even talked about George Romero
It's only
movies.
because my brother was an ass blaster. It's okay. I gotta set this up because it was the cutest fucking thing. All right. So my brother was in an accident, and he's like 11 years younger than me, right?
Those
So-
shows are scary. Night Gallery,
So
and Tales of the Crypt, and all those old shows.
we watched Tremors too with the ass blasters together. And this child would literally like kind of squat down and stick his butt out, and he would wiggle his butt like an ass blaster and then take off and jump, and I would catch him.
Picture,
It was the
if you know
cutest
Mikey
fucking
now, he's a giant mountain of a man.
fucking huge now, everybody's little brother becomes like the biggest fucking person. But I swear to God, it was the cutest freaking thing. And I would tell him ass blaster, and he would get in position and do it and jump. And it was cute. It was a thing. Okay, I love Tremors. I passed my love for Tremors on.
But there a lot of those old shows like Night Gallery, the old shows that played at night, Tales of the Crypt, the what were they called? Like the anthology series, were really good at the time, and it just goes to show you that you can do more in a series, even if it's an anthology, than you can do in a production for a movie.
I have said that 100. I am 110,000% on board that I think a series will always be better than a movie. Always.
I don't know. What is a favorite horror franchise?
I might take that back.
Ooh, favorite horror franchise.
Mm. Hmm.
That's a tough one.
That is tough.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna say Scream because I enjoyed them the most.
Really? I'm I'm trying to can't remember the name.
Oh yeah, Creep Show is great.
I mean, from a purely aesthetic standpoint, I really dig Hellraiser, though I don't think they're the best quality of movies. Some of
You
them,
know, there was a really cool Clive Barker movie called Nightbreed. Did anyone ever see that?
mm,
so I'm horrible with names. I have to have brother help me. What's the one with the couple and shit? And they go and they like
The that's based on
uh-huh.
the real life
Yeah.
people,
I can't
the people that
remember.
did Annabelle, that have Annabelle the doll in their little basement.
Yeah.
The what do they call it? The wardens?
I can't remember now. But I love that story.
Warrens,
The
Warrens.
Warrens, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Conjuring.
Conjuring. See?
mm.
Final
That's a good
Destination.
one.
Excellent pool, Sean. That was great.
Oh, I almost forgot all about that. Yeah, scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Traumatized for life. Will not drive behind the logging truck.
That's a great pool, Sean. I think there's been a lot of great pools. And I think there's an eclectic taste and forgiveness. Like I have a more forgiving spirit when it comes to horror movies. Like I'll consider a movie if it makes me. I'm not jump scares. Don't get me. But if it incorporates jump scares with situational like panicking and like basically suspense thriller type stuff, will get me every time, and I
I
will
love jump
consider that a
scares.
horror movie.
I am a sucker for a good jump scare.
There's a show on Netflix that claims to have the world record of jump scares.
What's the show? Do you know?
I don't remember the name of the
Yeah,
show,
we're old. We have horrible memories.
Yeah.
We're gonna find out though.
but it's highly touted as having the
The Midnight
highest number.
The
Yeah,
Midnight Club. Yeah.
Okay.
Midnight Club. But there was
that's a good
another
point,
great
Sean.
series called called Midnight Mass.
It
That
has
was
to
very
be
Stephen
well
King-esque,
placed.
but excellent.
It can't just like jump scare, just for no reason. Like it has to be very well placed and thought out jump scares. But a
I'm with
good
you.
jump scare, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like if they get overused and it's just nonsensical, then it just gets irritating because then you're just getting startled, and it's like,
If,
well, why are you doing that? That
if
wasn't.
they don't work, but I can tell you that there's been times where we've been watching a movie and I said, "Baby, that scared the shit out of me," and she
He's like
goes,
my
"Me
heart.
too."
He's like my heart. But you know what, Tyler? I'm
I'm gonna disagree with
say
you
I still love you
wholeheartedly.
anyway. But the original Omen, that's a classic. That is
Right? Damien, he scared the crap out of me. That little kid.
loved that little boy. Loved him.
That is it. You loved him.
I love that devil.
In the way that you have to
Right.
understand that I crave scary movies. Like I want them to the
Okay.
more traumatic, the more jacked up, I
Oh,
want
I agree wholeheartedly.
You're a fan of you.
Tim
You
Curry's It was phenomenal.
yeah.
because the thing he's in is good. I agree with you. The Omen is fantastic.
Yeah.
Very good film.
And I 100% concur that Tim Curry it is better than Bill Skarsgård.
Me too.
Wow.
And I had high hopes.
Which is not to say that it's bad. It really is not bad. Please don't take that the wrong way. It is well done. It's great for the time. But
I
you know what?
agree.
Tim Curry is Tim Curry, and there's not a horror actor out there better than Tim Curry, in my opinion.
I actually, so I would rank this as a sandwich where it part one is up at the top, then there's the series, and then it part two is at the bottom. Because I don't know, that first movie was so very good, and then the second one was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't understand because they did such a good job with the first one. It was, I don't know,
Like they almost mailed it
They,
in,
yeah, they phoned
phoned
it
it in.
felt disappointing.
in.
Yeah.
But see, I'm a big fan of the novel, so
Mhm.
I was disappointed with all of them. But I much preferred Tim Curry's representation of Pennywise. That's how I saw him. That's how we'll immortalize him in my mind forevermore.
Absolutely. And Tim Curry is just
But read the
a
novel.
genius.
The novel was
Since we brought
beautiful.
it full circle back to Stephen King, um, I will say that you did have a point. He has quite a few on that list of laughable horror movies. And the number one Stephen King movie that made me chuckle, which was probably not supposed to make me chuckle.
Maximum Overdrive.
No,
Oh,
Ridiculous.
I was gonna
it's
say
even
that.
worse.
All
It's
it
even
was.
worse than Maximum Overdrive. Dreamcatcher,
Oh, laughable. 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
There is not a person on this earth that will ever tell you Dreamcatcher was any good. It is the one thing that all human beings can agree on.
Even Stephen King says, yeah.
Even Stephen King. The
Piece of
novel
crap.
is fantastic. The movie, not so much.
It's hard to nail Stephen King down to a great
hmm
product. I think he did great with like Under the Dome when he did the executive producing and writing a lot of that show. It was very captivating. It was a very good show. Um, but like even the tower,
Dark Tower.
the Dark Tower series, I needed that movie to be brilliant, and it just fell
It was
flat.
average.
Yep.
It fell flat, and it should.
Very much did.
So I
the
think
The core of that series is so good. It needs to be done. It needs to be done right.
it's very hard. It's very difficult to take a Stephen King novel and turn it into a good movie. And a lot of that has to do with his writing style. There's a lot that goes on under the surface in a Stephen King novel, which gives you that suspenseful lead up. It gives you,
Character development.
the development of a character. It gives you, insight, and it draws you in and pulls you through his writing. And he is such a phenomenal
Different
writer.
levels, different weaves,
In
different
doing
patterns.
so,
Yeah,
and
brilliantly.
translating that into a 2.5 to 3 hour movie is impossible. Um, Being able to do it with any level of success is impossible, which is why it's like lightning in a bottle to have things like Misery, or The Shining,
Missouri was good.
because you just so happen to hit all the right things, and you're just not going to be able to do that with any old Stephen King novel, any old director, any old producer. It has to. You just can't.
The thing that so I'll contribute a little bit to the Stephen King thing is the show that we're watching currently is called From, and it is very reminiscent of a Stephen King novel.
Well, season 1 and 2. Season 3 is getting a little disappointing. No, not From. I'm thinking Dark. Just kidding. From.
Yeah,
From
is brilliant. From show to show, it's very reminiscent of Stephen King novel.
Mm-hmm.
And if his novels could get that level of commitment, and they could make the Dark Tower series a show,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That needs a
I
redemption.
need it. I need it
I feel like
bad.
Dark Tower needs a redemption.
It needs to be like an Amazon Prime show that's really good,
Mm-hmm.
I thought
or
that
Netflix,
after the
or
film
Apple.
failed, I thought there was talk about them doing a series, but did that just like
It
fizzle?
totally fizzled.
Huh.
Nothing ever came of it.
Yeah, that one would make a whole lot more sense in like an episodic fashion,
100%. And everyone loves, a little bit,
So,
of
being
that fantasy horror conflict.
being a Stephen King aficionado, a fan of campy horror, I'm surprised you have not mentioned Odd Thomas at all.
I love Dot Thomas.
That
What's
surprises me the most about this episode.
Thomas is absolutely one of my favorite scary movies of all time.
Hmm.
I'm writing this one down. Odd Thomas.
Odd Thomas.
Yeah,
It is absolutely phenomenal.
and the backstory on the actor is heart wrenching.
Yeah.
Huh. Wait,
And
so
heartbroken.
is it like one of these funny ones or no?
It is. It's campy.
It's got some camp to it.
It
And
is
it's fun,
definitely
but I
campy.
think it's got some legitimate scares in it too.
Okay.
I would put it up there with Frighteners,
Hmm.
Idle Hands.
Oh.
I'd put it up there with those.
Yeah, definitely. And the reason I say the Stephen King, because it's not a Stephen King novel. It is actually a novel by one of my favorite authors. And I'm very surprised that Dean Koontz has not had more translations into film than he has. It's the only one. But I think it's great. Dean Koontz is very Stephen King reminiscent with the suspense, the horror, the.
I liked Watchers was a great book.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first
So
first Koontz book.
if you enjoy Stephen King, I think you would probably enjoy Dean Koontz.
I do enjoy Stephen King. Although, I mean, it was brought up, Maximum Overdrive. We got to talk about Maximum Overdrive because when you want to talk about unintentionally so bad it's good films,
yeah, that's at top of the list.
Oh yeah, it's up there. It's up there.
So bad. And didn't he? I hope I'm saying this correctly, and if not, I apologize to you, Mr. King. But didn't he direct that film too?
Oh, I don't know.
I think so.
He was
Did
either
he?
like, I think he did more than
Just executive produced, like he had a hand in the actual
Ooh.
show. Actually, movie.
You know, when Stephen King can't even bring Stephen King to life.
I just checked it. He was the director, and man, that movie is so bad. It's so funny bad.
He had a slew of them out at that time. Silver Bullet was another one that was just god awful bad.
I think they just tried to flood so much Stephen King that instead of taking the time to do something right, they just shot out about
Christine.
a bunch of half-ass
I hated
shit.
that.
Right.
I hated that Christine movie.
Because absolutely every single one of them could have been well. They could have been done well. I mean, you read the novels are phenomenal. And then you watched it and you're like, what the fuck is this?
What was the one with the critters on the plains? What was that fucking called? Somebody
The
help me.
Langoliers?
The Langoliers, man.
I actually look at
with Balky was in that.
I admit The Langoliers is a shit ass movie, but it's just like Tremors. I fucking love it. I don't know why, okay?
But his books do not read like his movies portray.
No,
yeah, his short stories are way better,
right.
cinematic ventures like Stand By Me, Green Mile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's true. I think there's a depth to his novels that doesn't come across fully and is very difficult to capture on film.
And casting is so important, and they make the wrong decisions so many times.
That's why the short stories do well, because you don't have, a 400-page novel that you're having to cram into a 2-hour movie. You have a very short story where you have a lot more wiggle room and you have a lot more opportunity to expand versus having
you can pretty much get it word for word if you wanted to.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, it was a miniseries.
Yeah, I'm a
and I was hopeful. I was hopeful for miniseries, and even The Stand is one of my favorite novels of all time. I mean, I put it up there, top 5 at least, and it was so good. And man, the miniseries, both of them, did not live up to the written word.
Get there.
Nah,
But
not at all.
I think we did a good job kind of running the gambit on funny horror movies and what we find funny.
There's some good ones. I
And
want to go back
something
and revisit Idle Hands, Frighteners. Um, I want to watch the one with the trolls, The Gate. I gotta
yeah, we've
watch
got
that
like
one.
our list now. Like we really only do these
And
episodes so that we can get a list of what to watch when we're like running low
yeah,
on ideas.
because we like to watch like do like I don't know 30 nights of horror, around this time of year.
Or I just get stuck on a topic and like that's all I want to do. Like I have this weird obsession where if that's what I'm into, that's all I want to watch
I
in that
do
minute.
I do have high hopes, and I know we're running out of time here. I do have high hopes now that we have very, very successful streaming platforms that are giving us so much great
There's
content,
a lot coming out of
so
them.
much good stuff coming out, um, that I believe horror is going to pick up
I hope
tremendously.
so.
I mean, there's been some great ones. Yellow Jackets, excellent. We mentioned From, excellent.
Really well
The
done.
Dark, really well done. Um, there's a lot of them out there. You just have to um, pick through them.
Pick through and give them a chance. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? They turn out to be like Dreamcatcher. You know?
Yeah, somebody watched that jump scare TV shows and count how many times you were actually jump scared. I'd be curious.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. We'll have to report back on that. But we
Say
appreciate you.
Oh, if you're looking to watch some of those movies that are intentionally so bad it's good, Amazon Prime has a whole bunch of them. They have Velocipaster. They have one called Llamageddon, which is really really bad, like very very bad, but funny in how terrible it is. Zombievers, which is about zombie beavers. Um, yep.
Oh God.
So check it out, and even more, so much more. Um,
Oh no. Zombievers. Oh my God.
I would
All
say
right. With that being said, we'd like to thank you guys
Thank you
for
guys.
showing up and as always providing us with some amazing comments. Sean loves Zombievers. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. No,
But
definitely not
yeah,
surprised.
we'll see you next week. Also, shout out to our producer Nick for once again taking us through another great episode. And thank you guys for showing up. And we'll see you hopefully next week with an amazing topic. So peace
Bye guys.
out. Lots of love.
Adios.